Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to the Soul-Led Millionaire podcast. In this show, I will teach you how to manifest the life of your dreams and become a soul-led millionaire yourself. We will go deep on all things money, mindset, manifestation, self-love, spirituality, and more. I can't wait to bring you this content. So sit back, relax, listen in, and let's get into today's episode. Hello, gorgeous. Welcome back to another episode of the Soul-Led Millionaire. Today, our topic is on what do you do if you have never manifested that much money before, whatever your goal is. What do you do if you've never manifested before? Is it even possible to manifest that amount of money? And how do you normalize it? How do you get into a place where you believe that you do? So that's what we're going to be talking about. And this episode was brought on by a question one of my lovely Money Mindset School members asked last week. Her name is Natalie. Shout out. And she asked, what have I manifested in my life that I didn't believe that I could before? And I was like, this is a brilliant question. This is such a good question. And I want to talk about that in this episode. So I want to pose a question to you first. When you think about manifesting something and you don't know if it's even possible, fully don't believe it yet, why don't you tell me about a time that you manifested something that you never thought you could, but you did? What was it? And how many times have you done it? Because I guarantee you it's happened more than once, where you didn't think something was going to happen or something was going to come through, and it did. What was it? So, going back to my own experience, when I was very young, well, actually my whole life, I had very low self-esteem, very low self-image, self-worth, you name it. I had the whole concoction where I didn't feel good enough. And when my poor mother, she had no idea what to do to help me, but when she tried to help me, she was trying to help me figure out what it was, like how it felt. And I remember that it always felt like a void. It always felt like there was a black hole within me, and I had no idea how to stop feeling like that, how to stop having that feeling, how to stop feeling like there was this constant void. And I did counseling in school, but I didn't really take it in. I didn't really like it. And I should have done therapy, but I didn't. And so I continued through my life, went into my teenage years, went into my 20s, my adulthood, and then even to my late 20s. And I still had this black hole in my body, I guess you could say. It just felt like this void. And I could see so perfectly how it manifested in my life, in my relationships. Like one of the biggest indicators to me of that black hole was in being in relationships that weren't healthy for me, but also where I felt so disempowered in relationships. But it was in everything. I felt disempowered with money. I felt disempowered in friendships. I felt disempowered everywhere because I never felt like I was good enough. And so as I went on and I started to embark on my personal journey, on my personal growth journey, and I started to learn about inner child healing and healing that relationship within that I didn't have, I learned that the reason that I had that feeling, that void, is because I always abandoned myself. I always felt like I couldn't be safe in my own body. So I would always abandon myself. I'd always abandon the inner child because I never felt safe. I never felt like I was okay. I always felt like it was just me versus the world. And a lot of it goes back to childhood. Of course it does. And I don't want to go into the story of it because I decided I'm not telling that story anymore. I decided that's not my reality anymore. I'm tired of being that girl. And I decided to become someone entirely different. And so when I decided I was going to invest in this inner child healing work, I bought a book called Inner Bonding by Margaret Paul. And this book is brutal. It shows you everything about yourself that you have been doing, and you just feel so called out in the process. But one of the amazing things that I learned from this book was to not abandon myself, not self-abandon every time something went wrong, every time I felt like my needs weren't being met, every time I felt like I was uncomfortable, or I wasn't good enough, or I was in a situation where I felt less than, was to not self-abandon. Instead, it was to fully show up for myself. It was to fully be there and parent myself, parent that inner child, and love myself, hold myself, be there, reassure myself, be the adult to me that I should have always been. Now, this isn't about, guilting or punishing myself for not having done it. I didn't know any better. But once I learned this and I started to do it, any time that I felt like I wasn't okay or something bad was happening, or even just if I wasn't feeling great in general, it wasn't anything was causing it, I would be there for myself. I would show up. I would hold myself and I would tell myself, I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm not going anywhere. And obviously, when I first did this, my inner child did not believe me. It was like, whatever, I don't trust you at all. You're just going to leave me again. But I continued to do this. I continued to show up every single time something happened, or I felt like I was alone, or I felt like I was being treated poorly, or just anything. I would show up for myself every single time. And over the period of a year, as I did this, my inner child started to trust me. She started to trust me again. And I started to feel like that hole, that black hole, that void within was closing. And as I continued to do that for 2 more years, my inner child completely trusts me. And I am completely there for that inner child, for that little girl. I am there for her. I am her protector. Nothing will ever get to her again. I will never let anything harm her again. And so, as you can imagine, as I have done that, that void, that hole has gone completely. I no longer feel it. I no longer have it. It's gone. And so when my amazing member, Natalie, asked this last week, that's what I told her. I told her that there was a time where I did not love myself. I had very low self-esteem, self-worth. I had no self-love. And now I do. Now I have the relationship that I always wanted with myself. And you can't begin to imagine what that has changed in my life, what it has created for me, the relationships that I now have with people, and how healthy they are, how full of love and commitment and strength they are. And because of this episode today, the reason I'm telling you this story is because I want you to understand that you have already manifested things that you never thought you could before. And what I would love for you to do right now is to pause this episode and make a note, write it down, or open up a notes file on your phone and write down all the things that you have manifested that you never did before. Because I want you to see clear proof that it is 100% possible to manifest what you want. It's 100% possible to get the money that you have never seen before. Never in that amount. It's so possible to do that because it's all of your creating. So, in saying that, I've got another story I want to share with you. I shared it last week on Instagram, but it is a story of manifesting what you want very quickly and from a place of lightness, from a place of playfulness, from a place of love. And then I will share why it's relevant to today's topic. So, I wanted to do an experiment to show myself how powerful of a manifester I am, how fast I can manifest as well. So I walk every day in the forest, but to get to the forest, I park my car outside a dog park. But this dog park is enormous. It's like a whole reserve in itself. So I walk through this dog park and obviously see a lot of dogs with their owners. And I decided that I wanted to experience a dog running up to me and jumping up to me and fully being so excited to see me, so happy, and just giving me lots of smooches and cuddles and not wanting to leave me. And the very next day, so I imagined this once. I just saw the scene once, saw the dog run up to me, and that was it. Felt really good. That was it. The next day, a girl was walking in front of me, and there was a couple walking towards us, and they had a dog. And this dog ran up to this girl in the exact way that I imagined it running up to me. And I was like, huh. So it went up to her, but if I was in front of her, it would have run up to me. I'm like, I'll accept that as a partial manifestation. And so I continued on. I was like, it's not done yet. We were not finished, but that's a partial manifestation. That's showing me that I am attuned. It's happening. So about 2 days pass. I walk every day, but 2 days pass. And then I go onto this long stretch. It's like a long alley of trees. And there were 2 people walking their dogs, like about 100 meters apart. The first couple with their dog, their dog just was like, I've never seen a happier dog. It was splashing in puddles. It was just so happy. And then it saw me and it made a beeline for me. It just came for me. And the second it got to me, it jumped up on me. It was like giving me licks and kisses. It was so happy. I said to the owners, like, my God, he's such a happy dog. And they go, he's never usually like that. And I was like, well, he's for me because this is my reality and that's what I manifested. And so I carried on walking, and then a lady was walking about 100 meters behind them, and her dog saw me from afar and also made a beeline for me and just ran to me, this little fluff ball, like scooting through the forest, got to me, jumped up, gave me kisses as well. And I was just so happy. I was like, oh my God, I manifested twice in one go. But that's not where it stopped. So I continue walking as I do every day. The next day, 2 more dogs ran to me in the exact same way. And it's so crazy because this hasn't happened before. Like prior to imagining this, no dogs ran up to me like that. It would like they'd come over and, do like the quiet sort of sniff or look, but they wouldn't like jump to me and be so happy and just like love me. It was so crazy. And then it wasn't just the twice after that. Yesterday when I went for a walk, another dog, a beautiful black Pomeranian, just ran to me and jumped up to me and gave me smooches again. And I was like, holy shit, the universe over delivers. It doesn't just give you your manifestation, but it gives it to you in excess. Holy crap, I am a powerful manifester. A powerful manifester. And so the reason I'm telling you that story and why it relates to not having, if you haven't manifested something as big as you perceive the big thing, the big amount of money to be before, is I want you to experiment with being light with it, because you already know now that you have manifested things that you didn't believe you could manifest before. And now you can try an experiment where you can imagine manifesting that money from a really playful state, because now you know that you can manifest things that you didn't think you could before, right? I want you to try this experiment. I want you to imagine that you have a certain amount of money, a big sum of money coming in whatever way. You can imagine it right at the end, that it's in your bank account, or that it's in your hand, or that you have it in your wallet, or that you're receiving it as a lump sum through a sale, or whatever, literally whatever you want. I want you to imagine it and be light with it, right? Feel the love for it. Feel the joy of it. And I want you to just stay in that light-hearted place and let it go. Now, I don't mean let it go and forget about it. I mean let go of any attachment that you might have about it. In what way it might come through or how it could possibly come through. Like for me, Imagining a dog running up to me is very easy, right? It's very simple. If I got caught up in the details of like, oh, but like, what if no dogs run up to me? What if there are no dogs that want to see me and aren't happy to see me? What am I going to do then? No, I stayed light with it. I imagined it once and I stayed light. So I want you to try that same experiment, because no matter what you want, no matter how big you perceive it to be, you can 100% manifest it. The thing you have to do is to be in the end, is to see it done. See that it has already happened. You're not trying to manifest it. You are just being a person who has, right? Just like for that moment when I saw it, I was the person who had manifested a dog running up to me. I was the person who had manifested an experience where I now don't feel like I have a black hole in my soul anymore, where I feel full, I feel whole, right? And when you do this, what I want you to think about is not from a logical 3D point of view of, I don't see it out here. I don't see it in 3D. I don't see how it's possible. I want you to only live in your inner world. That is the only world. That's the only reality, your inner world. What you are creating in here, in your mind, what you see, how you feel, is what you're projecting out into the world, right? And so what will show up very soon are situations, events, people, scenarios that match that inner world that you have been creating. But if you keep taking your mind off the inner world and you start focusing on the 3D world and what's happening out there, and that you can't see any evidence, that it doesn't look like it's happening and it doesn't seem possible, what are you creating now? You are now creating an inner world where the 3D world is the reality, where what is happening out there is going to continue happening because that's what you're creating in your inner world. So I want you to deliberately bring it back into your mind, into your heart, into your soul, and see what you want. See the money that you have never seen before in the physical reality. I want you to see it in your bank account or coming through your business, however you want to see it. And I want you to be in the end of that. You have it now. You have it now. It's done. It's done. There's nothing more to do. It's done. And now you can stay in that light, playful, fun, loving energy and know that it's done. And if it helps, you could even imagine that it happened a while ago and now you're telling a story like I just told you at the beginning of this episode of how I didn't believe something could happen that 100% did. But you can imagine yourself telling this story. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed that episode. One thing I want to let you know is that next month is a 21-day challenge month inside Money Mindset School. And the theme for that month is manifesting 5-figure months. So if you have never manifested 5-figure months, or you have a goal in mind that you want to manifest, inside this challenge, I am going to help you completely become a person who makes that much money in their business, right? This is not a challenge about strategy or actions or implementing any set way of doing things. It's not about that at all. Every single person knows exactly how they want to make the money that they want in their business. I don't need to teach you that. You know what you want. Instead, what I need to teach you how to do is to become that person who does, is to become a person who sees themselves as a person who makes money in the exact way that they want. Because a lot of the problems are around not believing that it's possible for you, not believing that you can do it. And the reason we want to get in there and change that is we have to change the identity. We have to change the way that you look at yourself, the way you perceive yourself in the world and how it works for you, and change that. Because when you change that, when you change the inner world of how you see yourself and what life looks like for you, it changes the external world. And all you have to do is change your mind. There is no action you actually have to take, right? So if you would like to join us in that challenge, we start May 1st. and I would love to see you there. The link is in the description below or the show notes below. If you have any questions, make sure you come and message me on Instagram, and I'll be happy to help you out with any of those questions that you have. Other than that, I will see you in the next episode.